Listen, guys, Trump gave the best deal I've ever seen in my entire life. He said, listen, give us some of your minerals, right? That could pay back some of the debt, the $300 billion debt that we, basically gave to you, right? And keep this in mind, we're the only ones that gave you money. If you want any money, more money going forward, the only way to basically do this is to give us some of your minerals, basically, right? Because, guys, they cannot handle it themselves. They can't. They need assistance from outside to kind of stop the flow, let's say, of Russia into the Ukraine. By giving some of your minerals, that would make all the sense in the world. Because, bro, we're sick and tired of every single country around the world completely taking advantage of our kindness, guys. All right. Think about this here. The Ukraine, not the Ukraine. The European Union gave the Ukraine $100 billion. And to keep this in mind here, this wasn't really a gift, not this one, at least, right? This was a loan. They gave them a loan of $100 billion while Biden said, you know what? Money is nothing. Who cares what the citizens have to say about this, right? Let's just give them all, let's raise taxes, make taxes expensive, make everything more expensive so we can fund a country that has nothing to do with us. That's Biden's offered. And of course, Zelenskyy took it because he was like, hey, listen, we're used to taking advantage of America. Let's take advantage of America some more. I'm just basically paraphrasing the nonsense currently. And so that's just the vibe here. I think the best deal is the deal that Trump gave, because at least we're finally going to get something out of that deal. And keep this in mind here. If Russia knows that we now have interest, specifically in the Ukraine, guess what Russia's not going to do? They're not going to start WW3 over the Ukraine. They're not going to do that. It's just not an intelligent thing to do. So, of course, what would happen is that everything would basically go back to kind of how things were before the whole kerfuffle started in the first place. For the most part, obviously, with Russia taking, what they have already touched and things like that, guys. But it's a good deal. Take the deal. Because there's nothing the Ukraine, Zelenskyy specifically, can do to stop this. There's nothing that they can do by themselves to stop this. But all right, and then obviously, they meet and they have an entirely crazy encounter. So let's go ahead and encounter this together. Right? The reality is going to eat Zelenskyy alive if he doesn't recognize this. Really? All right. This is a suggestion via Discord. Let's go and check this out immediately, guys. Let's jump into it.
Now, President Trump is on his way to Florida, and he may stop and talk to reporters after one of the most breathtaking moments in Oval Office history.
Yeah, in history.
President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance getting into an epic shouting match with Ukrainian President Zelenskyy as they tried to hash out a minerals deal for a peace deal with Russia.
Yeah.
You think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
Right.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influenced.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
You're
playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of
war.
millions of people.
You're
gambling with World War III. You're
Yep.
gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country.
Incredibly.
This country.
Have you said thank you once? This
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Your country's in big trouble.
Yep.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No.
Can
You've
I
done a lot of
answer?
talking. Then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I wanted this. Look,
Bro, you have no
if you can
leg
get a
to stand
ceasefire
on.
right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a
with
ceasefire.
guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
that
what
wasn't
this
with me.
means. It
That was
wasn't
with
with you.
a guy named Biden who was not a smart person.
But this
That
is
was
your,
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins. The problem is, I've empowered you to be a tough guy, and I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people
Not at
are
all.
very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, You'll fight it out.
And
I
you're
don't
going to
think
lose.
it's going to be pretty.
No.
You'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing.
No.
All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think?
What's this negotiation?
This is going to be great television. I will
Guys.
say that.
Guys, like watching the recap is even crazier here. All right. Listen, Zelensky, bro, you can't walk into the White House and then immediately think that you are in control of a singular thing. So for the most part, this is not trying to be funny or anything like this, but the Ukraine, under no circumstance here, has the ability to defend itself against Russia by itself. They can't. All right. And we are done funneling money to foreign nations. Okay. Look at USA aid. Right? Pay attention there. We're done with it. If we're not getting anything from giving you something, then it doesn't make any sense for us to continue giving you something, because that doesn't make any sense. You're still looking at it legitimately from the sole purpose of like, hey, listen, America is a place that gives money to the world, willy-nilly, and expects nothing in return. Guys, we're done with that. Look at the state of the economy. Okay, with all this brand new printed money that we had to basically print to fund their kerfuffle with nothing in return. What kind of deal was that? Was a bad deal in the first place. $300 billion basically thrown away, and we're not seeing anything beneficial at all to it, guys, from it. Nah, bro, the mineral deals exclusively needs to actually go through.
And indeed it was. President Trump kicking Zelensky out of the White House shortly after that, canceling their joint press conference. No rare minerals deal was signed, and the White House staffers, well, they eat the lunch that Trump and Zelensky were supposed to dine on. President Trump posting on Truth Social, it is amazing what comes out through emotion, and I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. I don't want advantage. I want peace. He disrespected the United States of America in his cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace.
Yeah, I wouldn't even let him come back, bro. Because like understand the concept of decorum. Yeah, he's super hyper emotional. I understand that he definitely is running a country that is going through something absolutely terrible. But you do have to fully understand the repercussions of these actions. You disrespected our country with your hand out. Okay, you disrespected our country with guys, think about what just happened here. Okay.
And Zelensky will be talking to Brett Baier at 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight, just less than 1 hour from now. Jesse, this feels like one of those moments in history where we will all remember exactly where we were when we watched that go down.
Yeah,
now I'll ask you the question we're left wondering, will they get to a deal?
Hopefully. It's kind of like when you want to propose, so you go to the girlfriend's dad, you go into his house. Can I have your blessing? And he goes, well, do you have any money for a ring? Nope. Do you have a job? Nope. Do you have a house? Nope. And then you start arguing with the dad and he kicks you out of the house and you go back to the girlfriend. The girlfriend's like, well, how did it go? Not good. It did not go very well. Zelensky screwed up. 30 minutes before this happened, everything was fine. Everyone was getting along fine. And then a reporter asked Trump about aligning with Russia. Trump says, I'm just aligned with America and I'm aligned with the world. And then Vance jumps in and he says, well, you can talk tough and beat your chest, but that's not going to help us with diplomacy.
No.
And then Zelensky, out of nowhere, zeroes in on Vance. And he says, you don't know anything about diplomacy. What do you know about diplomacy? You can't negotiate with Putin. He can't be trusted. He violates ceasefires. Well, then what are we all doing here?
Right, wasting time.
Why did he fly all the way here to sign this mineral deal if you can't negotiate with Vladimir Putin? What's the whole point of this?
Well, okay, let me play devil's advocate here. I'm thinking from his perspective. He is legitimately the one getting his country invaded, not us, right? So obviously he's going to say, everything humanly possible. This is basically from the playbook of gigantic kerfuffles, let's say. The person who is attacking you is obviously subhuman. They cannot be trusted. They're evil, all these other things here. I'm not saying good things about Russia. I generally don't have anything good to say. But in the context of him saying what he has said, it's most likely that he's basically being attacked by a force that is evil, that is subhuman. This is what everyone in war basically does. The other side has to be, subhuman.
We're not going to give Zelenskyy a security pact. It's not in America's interest to have to defend that country with American soldiers if Russia goes back in. The mineral deal is the best security that Zelensky's ever going to get. And if you didn't like the language of the deal, stay in Kiev. Hash it out for another week and then fly here. Don't fly here and get all emotional. We run the world.
Bro, cancel his return flight.
This is America's world. He's our proxy.
Christ.
This ends when we say it ends. It doesn't end when Zelenskyy, if he wants to go it alone, go it alone. I'm glad we helped him. Russia invaded. We got his back. At first, it was the right thing to do. But now it's not. Now the war's over, and he doesn't recognize it's over. And reality is going to eat this guy alive if he doesn't recognize this.
Bro, because all he wants is to have us back him and then attempt to destroy the people that have basically taken the bits and pieces, let's say, of the Ukraine. He does not want to kind of, have to deal with that. That's his problem.
If you were in the room when
but he needs to pay for it.
Roosevelt was telling Churchill to liquidate his colonies, I don't think it was all tea and crumpets.
Not at all.
You were Bush yelling at Musharraf when Al-Qaeda was in Pakistan? No. Or Bibi getting his ear chewed out by Joe Biden. This stuff happens all of the time behind the scenes. We were just lucky enough to have it happen right in front of the cameras.
It was fascinating. Thank you for that, Jesse. Emily, when we were getting live reports from the White House while Zelenskyy and Trump had finished this meeting, and we were waiting to see what happened next, Jackie Heinrich stepped up to the camera to give us a report and said she had learned that Zelenskyy was begging to stay but got kicked out. And shortly thereafter, we saw exactly that. We saw Zelenskyy very quickly after this concluded exiting the White House along with his staff.
Exactly. And to that point, there was a gap in time that was longer in reality than we saw on television because we had to ingest that footage, right? It wasn't live. So there was sort of a significant moment in between what we saw and Zelenskyy exiting the White House that I think portends the future of this relationship between those two, which is the need for an apology and an acknowledgement of the role the United States is playing. Now, I think what we saw was someone who has for many years bared the brunt, obviously, of Putin's aggression and his exhaustion and his wit's end and his rage was showing. But for him to ascribe on the current administration's shoulders the utter failures and the invertebrate approach of prior administrations was so wrong. And the most wrong tactic was, in Vice President Vance's words, litigating it in front of the American media. That was not the time or place to have that outburst. And I think all it did was...
Because what you're going to do is now you're going to start having to worry about the response from the American people that have been footing the bill for all of these years. Look at how he just acted. Like, do you think that the overwhelming mass, right, is now going to want to do this, or continue helping you if you just disrespected our Oval Office, bro? Like, are you serious right now?
It was underscore for everyone watching, for the millions watching, how deeply fragile and important diplomacy is, and that it doesn't always look tidy. And for President Trump to sit there and for them to entertain that question, that pushback on, what do you know about diplomacy? And they said, look, there's a new sheriff in town. So I know that your experience with Putin has been such, but let us tell you what our experience has been. For that to be all played out in front of the American media live, and for President Zelenskyy to have, frankly, his sort of mercurial behavior always played out, always harnessing the American public's sentiment by way of the harnessing of American media is totally inappropriate in the Oval Office of the presidency of someone that you are trying to have on your side. And recall that the UK Defense Secretary who says, well, America needs to have that backstop. We believe in upping all the spending, but we still need America to be the backstop. We don't have to be, actually. And economics is indeed the backstop that we're going to commit to. So here, What happens moving forward is that America needs to stay strong because we are signaling to Putin and China exactly what happens if you come on our turf and disrespect us.
You know, Jessica, a lot will be said about the public nature of this, these fiery exchanges happening in the Oval Office. And the many guests we had immediately following the breaking news, there were some who seriously embraced it and some who thought it's not a good look to have this happen on the global stage in such a public way. Where are you?
I think I could see both sides, I guess, of the public face of it. I think Jesse's right that usually this is hashed out in private, but this is a president who loves doing things in public, and he's a TV guy, and he made for great TV there. And we're going to talk more in the B block about the various reactions to it and how much this ultimately benefits Putin and how he was so excited to see this interaction. And I'm sure that is the case.
Yeah.
But
I can see that.
the idea that Zelenskyy, whose people have fought bravely for 3 years against a authoritarian adversary that invaded, that has taken an advantage at every single turn
right,
has been nothing but a patriot. Said even just last weekend that he would resign if it meant that they could get into NATO, right? That was after the accusation from President Trump, JD Vance, et cetera, that he was the one who's a dictator, that he was the one that it was Ukraine's fault that all this happens, when we all know, or anyone who's being honest, that it was definitely Putin's fault.
Yeah,
and Jesse's right. The moment where Zelenskyy gets animated is when JD Vance asks him to just take it, to just sit there and go along with the idea that Vladimir Putin wasn't the aggressor in this, or the idea that Vladimir Putin is a diplomatic partner. Vladimir Putin is not a diplomatic partner for anybody. So you had a patriotic world leader defending his people and defending the thousands of lives, tens of thousands of lives that have been lost to all of this.
Neither Stalin,
That's a very, very fair assessment, like non-emotional, very fair assessment of what's going on here, guys. Who is going to be the happiest that this has happened? Putin. Why? Because we're going to stop giving him money now, bro. What he just did for the American people, listen, what she said is completely right. Okay. He's emotional. He's been going through this for a long time. He's super patriotic to his country, respect. In that instance, I still don't think that you should be welcomed directly into NATO. You cannot afford it. Based off of all these loans, you're running in a gigantic deficit. And I don't think that should be something freely given in a sense here, guys. Right? But who wins in this conversation? Putin. Absolutely. Because I see this and I'm like, first of all, I already had an issue with sending the amount of money that we're sending to the Ukraine and Israel specifically, these two places. Why are we sending so much money? Doesn't make any sense to me, right? But so I've already had this issue kind of in the back of my head and in the forefront, let's say. So I see this and I'm just like, bro, give him no more money, cancel his flight, let this man walk to the airport with his people. Okay, because I'm not sure we should be spending any more money at all after this right here. So again, who wins in this scenario? Putin does. Okay, because now he just showed the American population how disrespectful this man is, begging for money with his hand out. Okay, and then being disrespectful in our White House. Come on, bro.
there's Mao. Sometimes you have to do deals with bad guys.
But
Jessica.
he's not. America in life has done some deals with some bad guys, but
Absolutely.
that isn't what's going on here. And Donald Trump revealed himself. I thought the most shocking part was that Trump goes on to say, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt. And people have been saying since the beginning of this, since Donald Trump came on the world stage, that he is aligned with Putin. We saw in Helsinki in 2018 when he stood up there and he sided with Putin over the intelligence agencies. He says, well, Putin told me he didn't do it. He told me he didn't meddle in the election. And then are you comfortable with an American president saying Putin went through a hell of a lot with me? Are they buddies?
I went through a hell of a lot with you, Jessica, with the Russia.
Okay, Jessica, I'll research you. Intriguing, right? I mean, listen, the statement in itself is a moderately troubling statement, specifically saying that directly to him. right? So that is something, you can kind of see like behind the scenes, there's like some angst here, guys.
Making a joke of it means that I made a valid point, just for the viewers at home.
No. She made a valid point. Multiple valid points here.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Take it to Charlie.
So, obviously the whole thing was pretty amazing. It was great TV. It was pretty shocking. I've never seen anything like it. But one of the reasons it was so shocking and so amazing is because it's the first time we've ever seen an American president stand up and deal with the situation in Ukraine completely from an American perspective, standing up for American interests, American taxpayers' interests, Americans' strategic interests. And we've just never seen it. So it was kind of shocking. And probably the most shocked person was Zelenskyy himself. He couldn't believe it. He'd never dealt with an American official who cared primarily, first and foremost, about Americans and American interests. And so he was completely blown off. And I think that one of the things that's kind of interesting about, and obviously, and you all are exactly right about that, the moment that set him off that set Trump off was when Zelenskyy dialed in into JD Vance, which, by the way, is a really weak move. You go for the vice president.
But he's the one who said it to him.
Okay, but that's who you start your fight with. And then, and this is the thing I think, Trump knows a lot of people who are not good deal makers. He can deal with them. He can work with them. The idea that you would have a guy that is not only not a good deal maker, he has no idea how few cards he has when he walks into this room. Mm-hmm. He has no idea how few options, zero options he has.
Yeah, because he's banking everything off of emotion. Like the Ukraine specifically has been basically pulling at the heartstrings, let's say. No offense, right? But they've just been pulling at the heartstrings of the Democrat Party and the left because they are perfectly suited for that type of cause, guys. So yeah, he expected that to kind of happen. Then he ran into straight logic, like, how is this affecting us? All right, what are we getting from this deal? Our feelings? That's not enough.
And he walks in here and he's arrogant and he's pushy and he's demanding. Yeah. And you pile all that up and you're going to piss off Trump. And what we saw there was a pissed off Trump. So you have somebody, and it's been going on for a long time, where you have this person who is bilking the American taxpayers for hundreds of billions of dollars.
Right.
And most Americans can't really tell you what our interest is over there.
Can I just add to that about the money and all this? Obviously, we have given them a ton.
Well, I mean, listen, strategically, the Ukraine is a moderately good place to kind of cover. I do understand the things that are kind of like why the Ukraine. It makes all the sense in the world. Kind of. But I still do not think that we should be dumping the amount of money that we're dumping into a place while we're receiving technically nothing back. We're just basically protecting Europe. That's what this is, guys. And Europe has basically been giving us terrible deals for the last 2-3 decades, guys. All right. So until they start dropping some tariffs, bro, I'm not interested in dumping any more money into Ukraine when every single country in the world, it seems, is giving us bad deals.
Ton of money, but 70% of the aid that we have sent to Ukraine has then been spent back in America. So when he, quote unquote, went and campaigned for the Democrats, that he was visiting a munitions factory that was producing weapons that they could then use. And Europe has been, as a share of GDP, almost doubling our investment.
So I'm not an economist, but the idea that you're going to take hundreds of billions of dollars of Americans' taxpayer dollars and light them on fire in Europe, I don't think that helps anybody. All it does is lead to inflation.
All right, save for the next.
It's helping the local economy. That's basically what she's saying here. And that point in itself is moderately valid. All right, so basically what she's saying is that we're giving them money for them to then come back to the United States of America because we make a lot of big weapons, right? Keep this in mind. They're also going to the UK. So I hear what you're saying, but it's still too much money to be basically burning. Okay. Listen, I do think that absolutely Zelenskyy definitely owes the American people an apology for this, and I don't think that we should be, funding their kerfuffle. If we're not getting anything out of it, I don't think so, guys. Sorry, because who are you enriching? Like, even through this process, even if we were to go off what the woman said here at the end here, if we were to go off what she said, then who are we actually enriching? Munition manufacturers, guys. That's it. That's not regular people. So yeah, and not affecting us. Not enough. All right, it's not enough. It's helping like one small singular local economy, but the money is being pulled out of all of us. Okay, so if it's benefiting like one small town in Tennessee, that's not enough, guys. All right, it's not benefiting us at all. This should be benefiting everyone, but it's not. And he owes us an apology. Okay, and he should have walked home. But either way, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. The fact that you just made it to the end of the video says a whole lot, actually. We have a couple other channels. MrLboyd Music, MrLboyd Movie Reacts, along with MrLboyd Discusses, where I just generally speak about the things that specifically matter to me. But in the meantime, I'll catch you guys later.